Hello, everybody. My name is Emma, and I am an English teacher. I'm here to help you with your English. So in today's lesson, I wanted to talk about phrasal verbs. Specifically, I wanted to talk about phrasal verbs we use in our everyday lives and our daily routines. So first, let me explain what is a phrasal verb and why are they important. So phrasal verbs are a type of verb. They are very common in the English language, especially in conversation. So if you want to improve your conversation and speaking skills, one way to do this is to learn more phrasal verbs. So how is a phrasal verb different than a regular verb? Well, I have here some examples of phrasal verbs. I have look up, look over, look on, look at. So if you notice, look is the same in all of these phrasal verbs. But the preposition up, over, on, and at, they're different. So a phrasal verb is a verb and a preposition together. The preposition actually is what makes the meaning in the verb. So what do I mean by this? Well, look up, look over, look on, and look at all have different meanings because they have different prepositions. So let's look at another example of some phrasal verbs. I have here get up, get off, get over, get on, and there's many more phrasal verbs with the word get. So each of these have a different meaning. They are phrasal verbs because they each have a preposition. The preposition changes the meaning of the verb get. So get up means something completely different than get off, get over, and get on. So in today's lesson, we are going to cover 10 of the most common phrasal verbs we use in daily conversation and talking about our daily routines. So the first phrasal verb I'm going to teach you today is one of my favorites, and that is because it is my favorite thing to do in the world. What am I talking about? Sleep in. So I love to sleep, and I love to sleep as late as possible on the weekend. So that's what I mean by sleep in. On the weekend, I sleep in until, well, for me, maybe not 11 a.m., but 10 a.m. On the weekend, I sleep in until 10 a.m. What does this mean? Well, usually I wake up very early. Usually I wake up at 6 a.m., but on the weekend, I sleep longer than usual. I stay in my bed longer than usual. So that's what I mean by sleep in. It's when you stay in your bed later than usual. So you'll notice the preposition here is in. The verb is sleep. Together, sleep in makes a phrasal verb. And here I have the definition again. It means to stay in bed, asleep, longer than usual. Do you like to sleep in? Maybe you can write about that in the comments below. The next phrasal verb I have here is get up. So get up is usually the next thing we do in the morning. When we get up, it means we leave our bed. I don't know about you. I usually get up at 6 a.m. And that's because I have a dog who wakes me up. So I get up at 6 a.m. Maybe some people get up at 7 a.m. But this is, again, a really important phrasal verb to learn because every day we talk about what time did we get up? I got up at 6 a.m. today. Yesterday, I got up at 8 a.m. So it's a very important phrasal verb. The next phrasal verb is one that maybe many of you don't know, and that is the phrasal verb head out. So when you see the word head, you probably think of this thing. That's your head, but head can also be a verb. The verb head has different meanings. In this case, the verb head plus out means to leave the house. So, for many people who have work, they head out in the morning. I head out at 8 a.m. That's the time I leave my house. So head out has a similar meaning to leave. And again, in this case, what is the preposition? Our preposition is out. What is the verb? Head. Together, head and out equals a phrasal verb. So I head out at 8 a.m. What time do you head out at in the morning? All right, now let's look at some other phrasal verbs we use when we talk about our everyday routines. This next phrasal verb I use a lot because it has to do with lunch. So every day at lunch, I take my lunch out of the refrigerator, I go to the microwave, and I heat up my lunch. So what does this mean? Heat up has the word heat in it. Heat is a verb, and it means to make something hot. There's different ways to make food hot. For example, you might use an oven or a microwave. But heat up means that you are making food hot, and usually that food is leftovers. Leftovers is food that you have already cooked and put in the fridge. Now you are taking that food out of the fridge and making it hot again. So, if you think about this, you make your lunch maybe the night before work, then you go to work, you put your lunch in the refrigerator. When you take out your lunch and you put it in the microwave, we call that heating up our food. So I heat up my lunch in a microwave. I might say to my friends at work, I'll meet you for lunch soon. I need to heat up my lunch. So this means I need to make my lunch warm or hot by using a microwave or an oven. Okay, the next phrasal verb is a very important one. I've talked to many learners about exercise, and I know many of you like to exercise, which is great. There is a great phrasal verb we can use that has the same meaning as exercise, and that is the phrasal verb work out. So work out, in this case, work is the verb, out is a preposition. Together, they make a phrasal verb. So work out means exercise. I work out every day. And workout can be different types of exercise. It might be lifting weights. It might be running or jogging. So there are different ways to work out. Now, this next word actually has to do with working out as well. And that is the word warm up. So warm can be, it's a verb. Up is a preposition. Together, these make a phrasal verb, warm up. So what is the meaning of the phrasal verb warm up? Well, it means preparing for an activity. So for example, before I work out or before I run, I might walk. This is preparing me for running. So that is an example of warming up. Sometimes before I work out, I stretch my arms. I might do some jumping jacks. So it's light activity or light exercise to prepare for working out. We also use this maybe in a classroom. Your teacher might give you some exercises or activities to do to wake up your brain. So your teacher might give you something to help you warm up. So it's a light or an easy version of an activity that you do to prepare yourself. So we've now covered 6 different phrasal verbs. We're going to cover 4 more that are very important to your everyday routine. So this next phrasal verb I use a lot, and that is meet up with somebody. So we have here the verb meet, we have a preposition up. Together, they make a phrasal verb. The meaning of the phrasal verb meet up is essentially it's the same like meet, but we use it more informally. So this is the type of verb we will use when we talk about seeing our friends or seeing people socially. It's a very social verb. We use it when we're talking about seeing people in a social context. So I meet up with my friends at a cafe. One way to remember this verb is if you think about the TV show Friends. The 6 friends, Rachel, Ross, Monica, Chandler, Joey, and Phoebe, every day, I think, they would meet up at a coffee shop. So if you can think about what those friends did every day, you can remember this verb. They meet up at a coffee shop. The next phrasal verb is an important one as well. Go out. So you probably know the verb go. Go is a very important verb in English. It's usually one of the first verbs people learn. Go out has a bit of a different meaning. Because remember, when we take a verb and we add a preposition, we create a new phrasal verb. So what does go out mean? Well, it means to leave the house, specifically. So, I go out at 8:30 p.m. This means I leave my house at 8:30 p.m. Sometimes we talk about teenagers. What time are you going out at? If you know a teenager, teenagers love going out. This means they love leaving the house to see their friends. The next phrasal verb is sort of along the same lines. Go out means to leave the house. Get in means to return to your home. So this one is to leave, whereas get in is to return home. So I get in at 10 p.m. You might talk about this in the past. Last night, I went to a party. I got in at about midnight. So this means return home. And again, we have that word get, which is, the verb. We have in, which is the preposition. Together, what do we call them? We call get in a phrasal verb. Okay, so now we are going to look at the very last phrasal verb of our daily routines that we will talk about today. So this next phrasal verb is my mom's favorite phrasal verb, and that is the phrasal verb tidy up. So what does it mean to tidy up? Well, it means to organize your things and to put things in the proper place. So if you are a messy person, maybe you have an apartment and it's a little messy and you have people coming to visit, you probably want to tidy up your apartment. So it's another way to say clean, but we're talking more about organizing and putting, your clothes into the closet. Maybe if you have books on the table, you pick them up and put them on the bookcase. So when you tidy up, you put things into the right place where they're supposed to go. So here's a simple example. I tidy up my apartment, especially before people come over. So we have covered 10 important phrasal verbs we use in everyday conversation. So I wanted to thank you for watching. And I also would like to invite you to take our quiz so you can get more practice on these verbs. You can take our quiz at www.engvid.com. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. There you will find a lot more resources and videos on all sorts of topics related to learning languages and learning English. You can also check out my website at www.teacheremma.com. There you can find some free resources on a variety of different English topics. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.